There we go. We're back. My mic wasn't even on. Welcome back to World War Live, everybody. I'm your host, Conrad Franz, here on another Tuesday evening. It is August 5th, and it's good to be here this evening. I've been up, unfortunately, since 4 in the morning, and so it might be a little bit of a lower energy show. That's probably why I forgot to turn on the microphone. But putting those technical difficulties aside, that was 3 minutes or so of yapping with no one recording. It's all right. We're going to survive. Already the view count is going up. I was losing people, but we've got some people everywhere. All right, I got to re-explain everything I said. I'm here on YouTube, obviously. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Already got some super chats that we're going to read in a second, but not only am I live on YouTube and X like we always are, we are also live on Substack. So actually, I should be able to share the screen here without it doubling up on me. But yes, for everybody that wants to, we can tune in now on Substack. You can hear right here, you're watching myself. But anybody who wants to tune in now, I usually send the email out via Substack for YouTube, but now you should just get an email chat with the direct link to the stream itself here on the stack. So really good to have that going. It should be able to just save that automatically. I shouldn't need to be uploading the replay afterwards, so that'll save me a little bit of trouble. However, I don't think they have any kind of super chat capability just yet. So until then, please check out the YouTube, which obviously I should probably be sending the link out for that as well, still over the Substack. But regardless, be sure to check out the YouTube to send me the super chats. For now, I will be sure to let everybody know the moment there is a super chat feature on Substack, which I can't imagine why they wouldn't eventually add something like that. But that's the current state of the game. We're currently streaming to 3 locations, the most I can even be streaming to on my current Substack subscription package, not Substack, my current StreamYard subscription package here. So that's the situation we have going. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We were going to start with our super chats. We've got $5 from Paisios. He says, "We are so back. When is the Metropolitan Neophytos interview?" And the Metropolitan Neophytos interview will happen as soon as we can make it happen. Obviously, I'd be willing to do it in any capacity, whether it be over a video call, whether it be through email exchange, whether it be in person. We'd be willing to make it happen. But Metropolitan Neophytos, he's tired. You know, he's fought the good fight for a while. He's endured persecution. He's preached the word of the prophetic words of the saints. And now here he is, you know, sort of witnessing everything come to pass. So it'll all depend on that. I was just talking to Father Peter, who just spoke to the Metropolitan Neophytos in the past few weeks, which, of course, I'm always very jealous. I got to make it back to Cyprus to see him. But, you know, hopefully next time we might be able to do something like that, even if it's just a short 20 minutes asking a few questions. But thank you for the $5, Paisios. Got Alan Wong, $40. Thank you, Alan, from the bottom of my heart. True World War Now patriot, real Athenite patriot here. Funds from the Chinese Orthodox lobby. Don't be joking around too much, man. Next thing you know, they're going to be on me. They're going to be asking about if I know about what's going to happen in Taiwan. They're going to ask me all sorts of things. If I know about the North Korean troops in Russia, which obviously, you know, feds I know nothing about. But Alan Wong, true American patriot, thank you for modding the stream, cleaning up the chat. Haven't had too much riffraff in the chat the past few streams, which is good. Maybe a little disappointing. Always good to have some haters sometimes to get, you know, it's free content, just engaging with it, right? We might talk a bit about some haters today, get me going. I didn't prep too much for the stream because, like I said, I've been up since about 4:40 in the morning. Dimitri and I recorded a big we recorded a big Ether Hour with Ryan Dawson. That's right, part 2 of the Jeffrey Epstein saga with Ryan Dawson. We sort of break down the latest news, everything happening with Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, the history of Trump's relationship with Epstein, what really went down there, a lot of the other, you know, Jewish powerful billionaires that have been involved, the Israel connection, of course, and, you know, some other details that Ryan, you know, in his years and years of research have figured this out. I mean, Ryan Dawson's been talking about Jeffrey Epstein since 2007, so definitely somebody that knows their stuff. So be sure to check that out. And it'll be behind the paywall, of course. So worldwarnow.co. And I guess I'll be sure to shill everything before we get too far into the episode. Oh, look how it looks. This looks great on the homepage. There we go. The homepage of World War Now. We've got the live stream right there, looking great. Below, of course, we've got our other episodes. Be sure to check out our South America episode with Jose Nino that was posted a few days ago, not too long after my previous stream. Really good stuff. We go into the history of Javier Milei, Claudia Scheinbaum, the whole BRIC situation in South America, the Zionist influence there, and what's really going on as far as World War III is concerned. It's a great episode. He's Venezuelan himself, so he knows his stuff. Obviously, be sure to check out the latest World War Now episodes, and then stay tuned for the big Ryan Dawson episode. We've got some other big episodes coming up. We're going to be hopefully talking to some experts on China. Going to be talking to Artyom again about some more economic issues. Hopefully having Father Peter back on very soon. Anthony of Westgate, that'll be coming up as well. Hopefully we're going to be reaching out to him. He's had some banger streams, some banger episodes recently, really going viral almost. So we want to check in with Anthony, see how everything's going on in the reversion sphere. But I guess without further ado, we should hop over. I'm debating whether we want to just talk about a bit of the news or I should just get into my my Twitter drama just right away. But I guess we could talk about a bit of the news here. Let's browse. Let's see what antiwar.com has going on here. Top of the list here, Netanyahu plans full Israeli occupation of Gaza. This is what's been going on these days. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to order the full Israeli military occupation of the Gaza Strip, according to Israeli military reports on Monday, which means a significant escalation of the genocidal war is likely coming. According to Ynet, President Trump has given Netanyahu a green light to launch a more aggressive military operation against Hamas in Gaza. Does that look better? Or does this look better? Or does this look better? I think this looks better. A source in Netanyahu's office told the Jerusalem Post that Netanyahu had reached a decision on the full occupation and plans to order military operations in areas where Israel believes its captives are being held by Hamas. The die is cast. We are going for a full occupation of the Gaza Strip, an Israeli official told Ynet. The Israeli military has previously pushed back against plans for a full occupation, but Netanyahu's message to IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir is that if he doesn't like it, he should quit. There will be operations even in areas where hostages are being held. If the IDF Chief of Staff doesn't agree, he should resign, the Israeli official said. Netanyahu is set to convene his cabinet on Tuesday, where he will seek approval for the planned escalation. The Israeli military currently holds 75% of Gaza, and under the new plan, it will work to capture the remaining territory to bring the entire strip under Israeli control. Israeli reports from last week say that Netanyahu is planning to propose a plan to start annexing territory in Gaza. The Israeli military reports on Monday did not say that what would become of the Palestinians living in the areas currently not occupied by Israel. Israeli officials previously announced a plan to build a concentration camp in a tiny area of southern Gaza with the goal of forcing the entire population into it. Netanyahu and his government have made clear that their ultimate goal is the removal of the Palestinian population of Gaza, which they now call the Trump Plan. But so far, there's been no indication that any regional countries are willing to take on sizable amounts of Palestinians to facilitate the ethnic cleansing. The Trump administration has shown no interest in pressing Israel to end this genocidal war and reach a deal with Hamas, which the U.S. could do by leveraging military aid. While Israeli officials are now claiming Hamas doesn't want a deal, the group has long said it is willing to release all remaining Israeli captives in exchange for a permanent ceasefire, which is completely true. So this cabinet meeting did happen today. There were some very fiery words exchanged. Even Israel Katz and some other very radical Zionists in Netanyahu's cabinet disagreed with the plan. Dermer as well. Netanyahu apparently told them they could quit too. So this is escalating. I think Netanyahu realizes that he needs to secure this. The end game is here. And this is their chance to take all of Gaza. This is their chance to take. I mean, look, in September, France, the UK, Malta, Canada, Slovenia, Portugal, these countries are all going to be recognizing a state of Palestine at the United Nations General Assembly. And Benjamin Netanyahu realizes at this point that if we take all of Gaza, if we can really start annexing parts of the West Bank before even the end of August, then it's going to be a lot harder for them to recognize this Palestinian state because it won't really exist. There won't be even a Hamas government operating within Gaza. There'd be no chance for a civilian government. And again, this all comes amidst Saudi Arabia, who is sort of the ultimate prize of the future Abraham Accords. Trump, everybody's been desperately trying to get the Saudis, who are America's #1 Islamic ally in the region, to normalize and recognize Israel. But the Saudis refuse to do so without a two-state solution, without a Palestinian state being recognized. Now, they ostensibly want it to be in the 1967 borders. And they're how this is going to work with the Israeli plan right now to completely prevent that from happening, I don't know. Maybe the Israeli plan is they just completely annex the whole strip, and then eventually they negotiate with the Saudis and the U.S. and the Egyptians. So I think I think in general it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, because I mean, I don't think Netanyahu's cabinet's going to abandon him, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know what else Hamas has up their sleeves, but if they realize it's going to be completely over, they're going to throw everything they have at them. And this all comes in the midst of, let me pull up Naim Qasim's speech from Lebanon. I'll read that here. So let me see. That's not on anti-war, is it? No, I'm not seeing it. I'm reading it out here from Telegram. Honestly, let's make myself bigger here. All right, Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qasim, he gave a speech and he says, the U.S. came with dictates aimed at stripping Lebanon, the resistance, and the entire people of their strength and capabilities, which serves Israel's interests completely. And remember, Hezbollah initially started attacking Israel, obviously sort of with the direction of Iran, as Israel was genociding the Palestinians, violating the ceasefires, and just not even accepting any ceasefires. And Hezbollah was doing that to ease pressure off of them. And eventually they were forced to sign the ceasefire, with it basically being a surrender because Israel didn't cease fire. They're still striking Lebanon to this day. Nasrallah was killed. Hezbollah was greatly damaged. So this is sort of the first real, as this all coming in the midst of U.S. pressure. They've given the Lebanese government 30 days, Lebanese government and the military 30 days to disarm Hezbollah, to make sure they get all their weapons, make sure they're effectively no longer the most powerful non-state military fighting force in the world. Between them and I guess the Wagner group, that's probably what we're working with right now. And the Hezbollah leaders, Naim Qasim, they're rejecting this call. They're not going to normalize. They're not going to turn in their weapons. And this is his speech, as many Hezbollah leaders are calling to march on Lebanon. Some are calling for armed resistance. Many are calling for protest. And they're rejecting this call, that Israel and the U.S. are demanding. And they make the point, I'll read it later in the speech that we've made on the show, which Israel has openly said. Tom Barak, the U.S. envoy to Turkey, who's handling the Lebanon stuff, he also said, yeah, when Hezbollah hands in their weapons, we're not going to actually expect Israel to stop striking Lebanon. So not sure why they expect Hezbollah to hand in the weapons when you openly say that, but here's what it says. The U.S. came with dictates aimed at stripping Lebanon, the resistance, and the entire people of their strength and capabilities, which serves Israel's interests completely. U.S. Syria envoy Tom Barak demanded dismantling 50% of the capabilities within a month, but they do not know the true extent of our capabilities to determine what constitutes that 50%. Barak demanded dismantling 50% of the capabilities within a month, but they do not know that. He said this after these measures, Israel would withdraw from the 5 points, which is a reference to the 5 strategic locations that Israel still occupies on the ground within Lebanon. I think it's actually more than that. They just aren't admitting it. Hezbollah Secretary General goes on, if Israel relaunches the broader war on Lebanon, rockets will fall into Israel and all the security they built over the past 8 months will collapse within 1 hour. If we surrender our weapons, the aggression will not stop. This is what Israeli officials openly declare. We reject setting a timetable for handing over weapons while the Israeli aggression continues. Lebanon can only achieve stability through all its people, not by favoring one side at the expense of another. Know that the resistance, along with the army and the people, will remain on the battlefield, and they will emerge victorious. In today's battle, either all of Lebanon wins or everyone loses. We are convinced that we can achieve victory together. If some prioritize personal interests that align with Israeli interests, then they are responsible for any harm that befalls Lebanon. The priority is confronting the aggression, not the weapons. And I'm sorry, but if you're in any way a Lebanese nationalist, that has to be correct. I get that a lot of the Maronites specifically, they hate the Shia because of what happened in the civil wars and the years and years of conflict. But Israel is the greatest threat to the region. Israel is the greatest threat to your country. Israel is the greatest threat to the world. And the Lebanese on the front line, unfortunately, are falling for Jewish-backed, U.S.-backed infighting that makes sure that no kind of actual resistance on Israel's northern border is possible, really. So very unfortunate. Obviously, there's new Epstein news coming out, but everyone can hold your horses for the big Ryan Dawson episode coming up. I don't have too much new things to add to the Epstein discourse, but the situation right now in the Middle East is escalating. Again, I've maintained for a long time now that this is still just the calm before the storm. The 12-day war was the appetizer for what I think is ultimately coming down the pipe with Iran. Israel is trying to decapitate them by killing the supreme leader. They want a full color revolution, regime change, which in many ways incorporates all of the ethnic groups that have been in some capacity rising up against the central government recently. We remember the huge protests against the woman who was killed and beaten over not wearing her hijab by the morality police. That was centered largely around the Kurdish ethnic groups, the Balochistan groups. I mean, at this point, 10 plus people, multiple pretty much every week now, a dozen people are killed in a Balochi terror attack down near the Pakistani border. So you've got the South and the North in rebellion. At the same time, though, you have the popular mobilization forces in Iraq. Iran is growing its influence in Iraq. The PMF is being incorporated into the Iraqi military. And in general, Iraq is right now very much in a capacity in the Iranian sphere of influence, despite the large U.S. bases there. It's one of the biggest battlefields for influence going on. And of course, the Houthis continue their strikes, all while allowing many Chinese tankers to flow through. But speaking of Chinese and Indian oil tankers, we did see, it was, I believe, Modi's, there was a response to the new sanctions, and the Chinese also responded to the threat of the new tariffs and secondary sanctions. Let me see this. Not seeing that right now. I'll come back to it. But I think one of the big stories that has been sweeping the United States, especially as everyone's realizing that Trump is unfortunately a Shabbos Goy, is this story. Trump administration won't provide disaster relief to states and cities that boycott Israeli companies. And this is Dave DeCamp. The Trump administration has said that states and cities will not receive funding to prepare for natural disasters if they choose to boycott Israeli companies. Reuters reported on Monday, citing a terms document from the Department of Homeland Security published in April. Excuse me, guys, sorry. The document says that in order to receive funding from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, which falls under the DHS, states must certify that they will not engage in discriminatory prohibited boycott. A discriminatory prohibited boycott is defined in the document as refusal to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies or with companies doing business in or with Israel or authorized by, licensed by, or organized under the laws of Israel to do business. The condition on FEMA funding takes aim at the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions, or BDS movement, which calls for a global boycott to pressure Israel over its occupation of Palestinian territory and now its ongoing genocide in the Gaza Strip. After the news about the Israeli boycott condition for FEMA aid broke, it sparked a backlash online, including from many Trump supporters. In response, the DHS removed the language about Israel from its terms for the funding, but its statement made it clear it could still enforce the condition on boycotts of Israel if it chooses to. There is no FEMA requirement tied to Israel in any current NOFO. No states have lost funding and no new conditions have been imposed, DHS wrote on X. FEMA grants remain governed by existing law and policy and not political litmus tests. DHS will enforce all anti-discrimination laws and policies, including as it relates to the BDS movement, which is expressly grounded in anti-Semitism. Those who engage in racial discrimination should not receive a single dollar for federal funding. The BDS movement has been targeted by U.S. laws at the state level for 4 years, with at least 34 U.S. states having a law in the books that prohibits boycotting Israel in some form. The Israeli government has been involved in pushing U.S. states to pass anti-BDS legislation. In recent years, we have promoted laws in most states which determine that strong action is to be taken against whoever tries to boycott Israel, the Office of Prime Minister Netanyahu wrote in 2020. In 2021, the U.S.-based ice cream company Ben & Jerry's announced it would stop selling ice cream in illegal settlements in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. In response, Israeli officials called on U.S. states with anti-BDS laws on the books to punish the company and Unilever, the British conglomerate that owns Ben & Jerry's. Many states took action against Unilever until the British company sold its Ben & Jerry's ice cream business in Israel and the West Bank to a local licensee. So, obviously, the original language was so egregious, it just openly said that disaster relief funds would not be given to you if you boycotted Israel. Again, I'm not sure if there's any of this that extends to like the personal level or like, oh, not going to help you at your house because you don't like Israel. Maybe when there's a Palantir database connecting everybody, they'd be able to just scan the little chip they put in your hand, Antichrist style, and be like, oh, yeah, he did an anti-Semitism back in 2023. And probably at that point, they probably won't just not give you aid. They're like, yeah, just light his house on fire. Just kill him. Just kill his family. That'll be the protocol there. So Trump, once again, all the plan trusters, everybody in my replies spurting out on me because I criticize Trump, that I'm not a true patriot, that I'm not trusting the plan. Well, unfortunately, this is the trusted it again, fell for it again award is happening in real time. People think that we're getting, a new golden age, a Trump patriot golden age. It's just a slow walk into the Noahide laws and total Zog control of Jewish fascism. So that's the situation right now. $5 from Paisios. On my homies, hate anyone who blasphemes Father Seraphim Rose. So true. We are not out here hating on Seraphim Rose. Father Seraphim Rose is a saint, a beloved saint that is more responsible probably for anyone than getting me in the doors of an Orthodox church. So Saint Seraphim, pray for us. Thank you for the $5. Paisios. Jonathan Kelly, $9.99. WWN, my favorite podcast for lifting at the gym in Jewish Community Center. Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, Mazel Tov. I hope your gains are good, and that you're munching your matzah, spinning your weighted dreidel as your wrist exercises. Something like that, right? But thank you for the $10, Jonathan. Good. I think this is a good show to listen to at the gym while working out. If I could listen to my own show live while working out, I would. But if I was working out, I'd be too locked in. But I want to thank everyone for the super chats. Solid showing this evening. If you want to ask me a question, do not hesitate to ask something in the super chats. But again, there's even that clip of someone asking Trump a question, saying that they wanted Trump to stop giving so much money to Israel, and Trump just immediately pivots and says, "Oh, we're going to be helping Israel." $2 from Paisios. All true patriots are World War Now subscribers. So true. If you're not subscribed to World War Now, what are you even doing? I managed to finally fix the paid sub language so it's more clear what everyone is getting when they sign up for the paid subscription. I explained all the benefits right there where you sign up. So hopefully people can see that and get behind the paywall, because that's really the best way to help the show on a monthly, yearly basis. It's not very expensive at all. If you get the yearly subscription, it's less than $75 a year, and you can get behind the paywall. That $75 a year makes it less than $7 a month. You get access to all of the Ether Hour episodes. You get access to the subscriber-only Discord channels on the server, and of course, you get access to our Q&A threads. And I think some big benefits that are come up. You also get access to our full Death of Empire documentary, 4.5 hours on the fall of the Russian Empire, the murder of Tsar Nicholas II, and what really went on there, debunking a lot of myths about the Tsar, about the Empire, and about the supposedly good nature of the revolution. So check that out. It's on our page right there. It has its own tab. You can see here, Death of Empire documentary. You click that, you get the full documentary, all 4.5 hours, plus our sort of director's analysis with Charles Bausman, which should be having a second part very soon. So thank you, Paisios. Always a good reminder there. But I'm going to be playing some Ethnoguesser here in a sec, of course, as always, but want to make sure we cover all the bases. Any of these other stories on anti-war more important to discuss? Got 1,500 killed while seeking aid in Gaza since May. Absolutely despicable. Very, very unfortunate. But I think that's everything we need to cover from there. Let's go to X and we can cover the flavor of the latest drama. I've been ratioing Corey Mahler, so it's beautiful to see. We can discuss that. We'll break the piece. Let's go back to my original. I've been reading, doing some reading. We do a little reading. This is, of course, the prophecies of Saint Paisios, visions of World War III from the Eschaton Vigil, our good friend Jonathan. Jonathan Kelly, $4.99. Transcend the dialectic. Thoughts both Tucker and Fuentes are both feds. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people don't like Nick. I don't think Nick is a fed. Nick had his bank account frozen. He was dragged in front of Congress multiple times. No fly list. This idea that he faced no consequences for the January 6th stuff. That's the only real argument that people have that holds water about him being a fed. And he faced all sorts of consequences for that. He was on the no-fly list. He was on the Quad S list for a while. He's banned from flying Delta. Again, he had the bank account frozen for a very long time. I don't see... Again, it's sort of just people have a very pathological hatred for Nick, and I think it's time people got over it. The World War Now patriot position is we do a little groiping. We're not, maybe I'm not a full groiper, but we do a little groiping sometimes. We put on the groiper mask. I mean, for those that don't know, I'm the original Metropolitan Ralph Groiper back in the day, and I think a lot of people probably wouldn't be here without Nick. I credit Nick with red pilling me a lot of ways in 2017. And I know very few people here were watching Nick in 2017, but I was. Not only that, but I also met him at American Renaissance in 2008 and 2018 in person. So I know a little bit about the guy. I was sort of aware of him well before he was anything close to a mainstream public figure. Had multiple hours of conversations with him, as Jared Taylor danced drunkenly with his wife and others were around. Very, very fun times. But yeah, what someone says, Owen Benjamin hates Nick. He posts 4 times a week about him. Yeah, Owen Benjamin, who I used to also be a big fan of, is out to lunch and is psychotic. Unfortunately, he hates the Trinity, he hates organized religion, and he hates Nick. So I think that's a good enough sign to realize that what someone says, Fed's list of AFPAC attendees. Well, I was at AFPAC 4, so that definitely didn't happen because I faced no consequences from the feds for that. And it was a pretty good conference despite being canceled. There's litigation right now about the cancellation of the conference. So we'll see how that goes. But no, I'm a fan of Nick. But maybe I'll discuss that in a sec. But we're back to what I was posting on X. And I posted this prophecy, which did quite well, 143K views. St. Paisios, yes, there will be a war and Turkey will be struck from the north. It will suffer enormous destruction, but not a single Greek will be harmed. As for Constantinople, it will be administered by Russians, Greeks, and Europeans. The storm will reach as far as Israel, and then the Jews will realize their mistakes, which, think about that in relation to the prophecies of St. Philomenos about the Russians making it all the way down to Mount Tabor. And things start to really connect. And then the funny response to this, we had a bunch of Turks. Gravantis sent this to me. A bunch of Turks were trying to community note the post. See, biased and false content is being produced for anti-Turk propaganda purposes. I don't know why I'm making him sound like a Jeet, but thankfully that didn't get approved. But some behind the scenes, they're trying to community note St. Paisios. That's what's going on here. People are talking, like, these posts are great. I get so much engagement because every post there's at least 3 or 4 Turks minimum just absolutely seething and malding in the replies. I posted another one. This one says, someone asked St. Paisios, will there be a world war? Will NATO strike the Poles, the Czechoslovaks, the Belarusians? Will the Russians attack the Germans? And this is, of course, in the 80s. So they're asking this in the context of a NATO USSR war. The elder shook his head and said, everyone will abandon the Russians and side with the Jews of America. The Russians will burn them. And people don't realize how prescient of a prophecy that is for what happened. He's obviously maybe not the Belarusians, who are Russians themselves, maybe not. But besides that, the Poles, the Czechs, everybody else that was in the Warsaw Pact that's now in NATO, they all turned on the Russians. And what does he say? He says the Jews of America is who will side with them. And who did I put in this picture? You got Antony Blinken and Victoria Nuland, who are 2 of the Jews most responsible for escalating the conflict in Russia to what it is today. Victoria Nuland is the architect of the Maidan. And Antony Blinken was the architect of the Biden response to the special military operation beginning in 2022. Both of them are Zionist Jews. Antony Blinken is on record first visiting Israel after October 7th, openly saying, I come here not just as the Secretary of State of the United States, but most importantly, as a Jew. So that's how these things work. Within a day, they had a full ethnic consciousness. Someone says, Nick offered Jay Dyer a collab on a week ago. I don't know if he offered it to him. I think he just said he'd be open to it. And I would love to see Nick and Jay collab even more. Obviously, I think Jay could talk a little bit more about some of these things now that things are out in the open. Alex Jones is certainly willing to talk about it, so there's no issue there. But Jay's got his lane. Jay's theology guy, philosophy guy. He can really get to the nitty-gritty of liberalism, and I think so. We don't need to pressure Jay too much, but yeah, I think him and Nick can have a lot to discuss. They're both very intelligent, and of course, Jay is the only person that Nick openly admits beat him in a debate. So I think it's going to take a lot for Jay to lose Nick's sort of begrudging respect, and I think Jay's done a good job not crashing out on Nick like many people do who don't 100% agree with him. So I hope they can stay amicable. I hope they can stay friends. I think they're 2 of the most brilliant communicators on the internet. So I know there's a lot of people that dedicate pretty much their entire lives on Ortho Twitter to hating on Jay, or on just political Twitter to hating on Nick and Groypers. But if you're one of those people, I'm not saying you got to like these people, but you really got to get over it. And if you're posting multiple times a week about how much you hate certain people on the internet, or you spend a lot of time speculating about Nick Fuentes' sexuality, or talking about how Jay isn't really a Christian or something like that, you need to get a grip, and you probably shouldn't be on the internet. That's sort of my advice for parasocial, negative internet relationship people, of which unfortunately there are many. Lost somebody that followed the show, liked hundreds of my tweets on X, saw my tweet about Nick, crashed out, wrote a gay fan fiction in my replies, and then unfollowed me and said he regretted every reaction. So that's the situation. But yeah, I'm not saying anyone's hating on Jay or anything, but I think Nick and Jay collabing would be quite powerful. I remember when they collabed around Stop the Steal. That was cool. But now we've got the funny Corey Mahler arc. So Corey Mahler took a screenshot of my St. Paisios prophecy here, and he quote tweets, "The EO are a straight-up fifth column. Converting to EO, Eastern Orthodoxy, is a public declaration of ongoing treasonous intent." Which, if you know anything about Corey Mahler, you know he wants a sort of fascist state, like many of us do. But, you know, in this case, obviously treason is warranted of the death penalty. And so Corey wants to kill everyone. Corey wants to kill us Orthodox Christians. So I guess I say to Corey, bring it on. I can send you the address of my parish or the monastery if you want to show up. Put your money where your mouth is, right? But he's getting ratioed. He got, 154 likes. And then I quote tweet, "I didn't have Corey Mahler openly siding with America's occupying Jewish elite on my 2025 bingo card, yet here we are. 330 likes, over double the amount of likes he has. Absolutely ratioed. You are fat, childless, single, 40-plus-year-old man, and you got absolutely ratioed, absolutely seething." Corey Mulder, as I call him, an absolute Mulder. He's seething. And then you can see the crash out continuing in his replies, where I also brutally ratio him. Oh no, did he hide my reply? Do we have to view the hidden replies? We do. Look at all the replies he had to hide. Silence, Judaizer, Christians are speaking. So true. Did I not reply down here? I totally thought I ratioed him here. Maybe it was on a different post. Oh yeah, then he quote tweeted again. Yeah, he quote tweeted Tolk saying I was a liar for pointing out the obvious fact that he either didn't read the post properly. Yeah, he says, "They lie like they breathe. This tells you all you need to know about them." And then I reply, "I'm not sure you know how to read, but your calm facade always turns to seethe when you're confronted with the truth of orthodoxy, like a demon being burned, perhaps." Corey, he's very calm on stream. He doesn't get agitated when he's on video, but you can tell behind the thumbs here, he's just, he's shaking and seething, and, you know, he can't handle it. He's about to poop his pants. He attempts to call me a Marxist, which is absurd. He then starts to use the Palamite slur, despite him legitimately being too stupid to understand the essence energies distinction. If you watch the Stone Choir episode attempting to refute Eastern Orthodoxy, it's basically like two retarded people trying to, you know, fit a wooden child toy cylinder through a triangular hole. He goes, "For anyone worth reaching, you're incredibly transparent. I wash my hands of you. I love you, Corey." Which, remember, I do love Corey Mahler. Not saying I love his content per se. I think he has some interesting takes. He's not an unintelligent person all the time. But I love him as we are called to love all of those that persecute us. So Godspeed to you, Corey. I love you. Be praying for you, man. But he obviously was getting just absolutely eaten alive in the replies. Total brutal ratio, and he knows it. Corey Mahler is so afraid of orthodoxy because he recognizes its potency and its power and its truth. He desperately wants to capture all of the sort of ethno-nationalist, traditionalist, hardcore people that their epistemology is rooted in Christ and the church. He wants all those people to be like American nationalists, national-Lutherans or some nonsense like that. He's a hardcore filioquist, which is just absurd. He does not understand anything. He does not understand the disputes in Eastern and Western theology. He's just a sort of he's this Western chauvinism, I guess, even in the theological realm, matters more to him than the truth. So in many ways, he's a sort of perennialist. He admits that Eastern Orthodox can go to heaven, but I guess in his mind, the only way to go to heaven as an Eastern Orthodox is to be like a provincial Russian or Romanian that was never exposed to anything else, and that's just your ethnic heritage. So it's ultimately ethnophilatism, this type of nonsense, not realizing that, you know, American Orthodoxy will be a much more based ethno inspired Christianity than anything his silly Lutheran church that he got excommunicated from could ever even hope to achieve. Maybe Dimitri and I will break down the Stone Choir Eastern Orthodoxy episode on our own stream one time and show how silly and ridiculous it is. But it's unfortunate. I thought that maybe one day we could have Corey on the show, talk about a few things, but he's definitely not interested. So that's too bad. Matthew Raphael Johnson's much more intelligent anyway. So that's where we'll go next. Getting close to 11K followers on X. Thank you all so much for everyone that followed me. And sorry, I'm reading the chat, making sure that everyone is all good. If anyone wants to send any more super chats, I will be answering them soon. Probably going to start doing some Ethnoguesser here in a second, but yeah, some good Corey Mahler drama. People don't know, I've been going back and forth with Corey Mahler since like 2020, since like right when I converted to Orthodoxy, which maybe wasn't the best idea, but I remember when he had like 600 followers. I was on some Anon accounts. I was on my original Conrad Franz account before that got banned in 2022, I think 2021. Yeah, 2021 was when my original Conrad Franz account got banned. And me and Corey were going at it, man. We would always go. And these types of characters, with Jaka, everyone's favorite, guy that I think is pretty much a Uniate in spirit, that Ukrainian guy from Canada, Corey Mahler. These people, I sort of develop originally it was the Orthodox news guy, that person who then admitted he wasn't even a Christian after arguing, but I have these nemesis. They come out and it gives me more purpose knowing that I log on and they're hating on me. We're going to go back and forth. It's sort of like we can be almost amicable about it, because I almost respect the hustle of just being a hater, because I know that having haters like that can fuel one towards greatness. But almost all of them end up falling off. The Orthodox news person deleted their account. Jacob blocked me. He can't handle the bants. And Corey Mahler, he doesn't want to engage. He just like washes his hands of me. I doubt he'd ever come on the show, but someday we'll get him in a Twitter space, and we'll either cause him to crash out and he'll lose his calm, collected facade like he clearly does, and we'll have the clip. But at the same time, maybe not. Maybe he'll finally see the light. We got to pray for this guy. So pray for Corey Mahler, everybody. Pray for him. He's already been excommunicated from Missouri Synod Lutheranism. It's Protestantism. So I think he just found a Lutheran pastor that just does whatever he wants. Not very hard, but Corey Mahler, I could see Corey making a good Corey could be a good OCA deacon or something at a very based church in another universe. So pray for him for sure, even if he's at a sort of demonic level hates the truth, hates Orthodoxy. But hey, worse people have converted, right? I think that's the situation. But Alan Wong, good attitude towards haters. Thank you. I appreciate it. Checking Telegram, seeing if there's any new news. Oh, a man tried to set the Hagia Sophia on fire. Let's watch. All right, a man tries to set the Hagia Sophia on fire. Is this like an angry Greek? Was this an angry Turk? What's going on here? Interesting. Well, you heard it here first. Someone tried to set the Hagia Sophia on fire. They failed. But let's cut that out. Let's share our screen, and we can get some of this going here in a second. Paisios says, it's not allowing me to send money, but please answer this question. I'll do it. I'll do it for a loyal patriot. Whoops. Thoughts on AP being called out by Metropolitan Nathaniel for his dehumanization of the Palestinians? I mean, that's been going on for a while. Everyone can check out Anglo-Varangian's Twitter to see what's going on there. Yo, Cotel Crew raid. We got the Cotel Crew. I guess the Cotel stream just logged off. Maybe they're hopping in. Maybe DPH is watching live. If so, hello. We're about to play some Ethnoguesser, definitely the least racist part of the stream. But yeah, I don't have a huge strong opinion on apostate prophet. I think He's come after me and Dimitri pretty hard. I don't care. I'm of the opinion. I think he should still become Orthodox. I know that Zionism is not compatible with Orthodoxy. I'm really not too personally invested in like delaying his baptism. Obviously, he needs to be he needs to be told by people in authority what's really going on, that he is wrong. But it's one of those things where I think after some time in the sacrament, some of this, maybe his heart will soften. So we have to pray. But yeah, he's obviously on some kind of payroll or some media. He's making a play to be in the media here. So got to pray for them. Got to pray for that situation. But yeah, I would avoid him and that whole sphere of people. They'll come after you. They'll contact your priest. They'll run a full gambit on you. They'll go full Mossad Jew. So be careful. And that's my recommendation. But greatly, I mean, he himself tried to convert to Judaism before becoming Orthodox. So that's pretty much all you need to know. But I think it's time to lock in on some Ethnoguesser. I'm not seeing any more super chats, but if you want to drop them, please do not hesitate. But let's do the daily game. The problem is I've played this more in my free time, and I do a lot better when I go quickly, but that's not very fun. It's more fun to kind of think it out and talk it out with the audience. And we've got some Africans. Again, these look like Western Hemisphere blacks that got brought over, but they're so light that I'm forced to also contend with the fact that they could be Southeast Islanders. But I'm going to wait for some input from chat, see if anyone else has any strong opinions. I think this actually might just be South Africa. I think I thought this one out. Sandawe. Pretty much entirely in, it says Tanzania. Yeah. North Tanzania up into Kenya, Somalia. 900 points, or at least not a zero, but Sandawe, distinctive East African type of the Tanzanian savannas. Interesting. Okay, all right. We got some Eastern Europeans, some true Caucasians, as it were. This has me thinking, it's so tough. It could be anywhere from like literally all across the Mediterranean, effectively. But I do see the Romanian. I do guess Romanian on these a lot. But that's probably a good guess. Let's go coastal Romania. Boom. Carpathids. European type with Gorid and Donaro-Amanid elements. Common around the Carpathian Mountains in Central Eastern Europe. Got it. Perfect score. Let's keep that up. Oh boy. These look like East Africans. Hey, we got Shane Swenson in chat on X. Cheers, Shane. Very talented iconographer. Give him a follow. Now this, I believe it if you said France as well. Just kidding. But I feel like I've been deceived in this. These have been farther south before. But I'm going to go maybe here. Okay. Not too far off. Those are just Maasai. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Not too bad. A little bit over would have gotten a 5K, but not too bad. 3,800. All right. Yes, this one's easy. We know what to do. Ooh, wasn't the same exact. These are Ostonordids, East Nordid subvariety, common in coastal regions of Baltic countries. Okay. Pretty much a perfect score, but I guess it could have been a little better. Yeah, usually just go central Sweden there. It's the best one. Latvians, Lithuanians, Russians, Poles, Belarusians, Hälsingland subvariety. Fascinating. But I think we're doing pretty well this round. A lot better than some others I've done. Oh, my goodness. Chat, what are we looking at right now? What the hell? Oh my goodness. What kind of Turk, Azerbaijani? I don't even know, man. These like Paisios. By the way, my church, with the help of Travis, might be installing a bust icon of St. John III with the next couple of months. Glory to God. Amazing to hear. Very amazing to hear. That's wonderful, Paisios. Keep me posted on that. I love seeing St. John III, his veneration grow across America, across the Western Orthodox world, because Elder Ephraim thought it was an important story. So I think it's an important thing that Americans should incorporate into our piety. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Tatar. I'm thinking I might just hit the Crimea. Or it's probably just go to Tatarstan, but I probably think it would work too. Oh, not great. These are Lapids. Ancient European type. These are like Sami. What are we doing? That was hard. I should have known it'd be some nonsense like that. They didn't look brown enough. But I'm glad I went there instead of trying to go to Tatarstan because I think I got a closer score. But I guess, oh yeah, if I had gone, yeah, okay. We live and learn. We live and we learn. Moving on. Oh. See, this messes me up and makes me kind of think of the Yemenis that I saw the other day. Because we got those Yemen people. This could be anything from Yemen to the South Pacific, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. I don't know, man. I don't know, essay. I don't know. What's everyone thinking? What's chat thinking? Come on. Work with me here. Argonian. Okay. Ow! I knew it. I knew it was some stricken Yemeni, ancient Veda type of the Arabian Peninsula. I literally said it. Y'all have the clip. I said it. 2,000 points, but not even above the average for this round, so not good. Oh, we got Martin Luther King. These are South Africans, right? That's what we established this was? South Africans. No. No, I've gotten those ones before. I've gotten that exact one. It's going too fast. It's going too fast. Freaking Middle Nile. And freaking Sudan. Ugh. All right, these are like Native Americans. Oh, too far north. Pueblids. So yeah, Pueblo. That's where they're from. It's the Pueblo communities in southwestern North America. All right, I think this is second to last round. Did we just have this? Very similar to what we were looking at before. Yeah, a little more Eastern though. Those are like Armenian, Mountain Turks. Yeah. Armenids. Next round, final round. Oh boy. So like pygmies or something. But are these on an island? Are these in Africa or are these islanders of some kind? That's the call we got to make, chat. Are these abos? Yes. Thank you, Paisios. You got it. I got screwed on those ones before. But yeah, look at that score. Not just like right there, right on it. 5,000. Boom. Top 20% of today's players. Solid round. Solid stream. Thinking we earned a few super chats. Just kidding. But we're close to the hour here. Be sure to send in any super chats you want me to answer. I'm ready to answer these questions. Let's make sure we're not missing anything here on the Telegram news wire. I guess I can tell a story, a Metropolitan Neophytos story. I hope Father Peter doesn't, he didn't tell me not to tell this one, so I think it's going to be all right. No, Paisios, we're all improving on this stream. Every week when we play this game, we're all gonna be getting better. And everyone can play in their free time. There's challenge modes. You can even play just with different areas and races. So be sure to check that out. Ethnoguesser should sponsor me. I'm like the only regular Ethnoguesser streamer that I'm aware of. But I'll tell a Metropolitan Neophytos story I just heard. And it was about the synod met in Cyprus, and I guess in the aftermath of the strikes on Iran, the fulfillment of Elder Theodore Agiophorangidis and St. Paisios and others' prophecies about the strike on Iran's nuclear capabilities, even though the persecution of Metropolitan Tychikos is ongoing, the synod, the church, they kind of took a step back on persecuting Metropolitan Neophytos. And Metropolitan Nikiforos of Kikos, who wrote the ecclesiastical situation in Ukraine book, strong supporter of Metropolitan Onufry and the canonical church there, he unfortunately had basically been convinced and sort of blackmailed into voting against Metropolitan Tychikos in the synodal court vote that ended up, removing him from his cathedra in Paphos. But apparently when Metropolitan Neophytos walked into the synod, because he rarely ever goes to Nicosia, he rarely ever leaves his metropolis. When he walked in, apparently he said it was like Moses coming down the mountain. And Metropolitan Nikiforos, who hadn't been talking to him as much, was like, oh, Morpho, come sit. And he was sitting down and he was like, so what comes next after the prophecies? Like what's after the, what's happening next? Was asking him about the, what comes next. Because everyone was like, you were right. Everything you said is happening, when the U.S. and the Iranian, Metropolitan Neophytos had recounted what Elder Theodore had said, which is that fateful Friday morning, you'll be drinking your coffee and you will hear that the Jews have struck Iran's nuclear programs. And then there will be American bunker busting bombs. That's happened. It's exactly what went down. And things are unfolding very quickly ever since then, just as they had been prophesied. So some bishops, some people who, were hip to this stuff saw what happened and they realized, wow, Metropolitan Neophytos maybe he did know these saints. Maybe the saints did tell him some things. So I thought that was a very encouraging story that I think everyone can take a little bit of heart in. I wish I had the St. John icon to sign everybody off with. Maybe I'll put a quick video on somewhere and grab that. Let's see, what all do we have that we could watch? Any videos, any recent video content posted by your boy? Yeah, here, I'll just put this on the screen. This is of course what Elder Theodore said. And I'll be right back. Not seeing any more super chats. If anybody has any final questions they want to ask, be sure to send them in so I can get those answered. But brought St. John over. Always good to see him. Crow Eye says, Corey at the door. Pray for Conrad. Don't worry, if Corey was at the door, he would be instantly repelled by the simple image of the marble emperor. But I really want to get a frame for this, get it covered in some glass to protect, the hand paintedness. So if anyone has any, recommendations on icon framing or how to do that, don't hesitate to hit me up. And I know some people there's some things we can put on it to protect it even more. So I'm going to be looking into that. But thank you everyone for making it to the end of the stream. St. John Vitatsis, pray for us. We're going to be keeping tabs on the prophecies, of course. And we're well past an hour here, not seeing any more super chats. I'll be sure to check the front page of Anti-War here, refresh, make sure we're not missing any breaking relevant stories. But I think this has been a solid, simple evening with the homies, hanging out, playing some games, doing what we got to do. Some funny news, the 70th anniversary of the European Rabbis Conference, which is held every 2 years, will take place in Baku, Azerbaijan this year. The event will start on November 4th and end on the 8th, with over 500 plus rabbis planned to participate. This will be the first time that it's held in a Muslim country, with President Ilham Aliyev expected to attend. Ilham Aliyev not beating the Mountain Jew allegations. So that's the situation there. The president of, or rather the leader of Gagauzia, the governor, Gutzel, she has been arrested in Moldova. So that was the Turkish Orthodox pro-Russia separatist, autonomous region of Moldova. So that's the situation there. Be sure to keep that in prayer. Unfortunately, there's a schism brewing in Moldova. The Romanians continue to encroach on the Moscow Patriarchate's territory there, but not seeing any super chats. I want to thank all the super chatters tonight. So big thanks to Paisios, Alan Wong, Jonathan Kelly. You guys are keeping the show on, keeping the lights on here at the proverbial World War Now bunker, not seeing any more super chats. So with all of that, I want to remind everybody keeping the lights on here. Oh, almost got my audio going double, but be sure to check out worldwarnow.co. Get access to every episode of World War Now by subscribing for free. Get access to every episode of Ether Hour in full in your email inbox when you get behind the paywall, just $7 a month or $75 a year, which is less than $7 a month if you add it all up. So really good deal. People get a free month if you want to look behind the paywall. When you get paid subscription, you can recommend the subscription and give a free month to many of your friends. So get behind the paywall, get all of those advantages. Find us on Discord, click down below, join the World War Now Discord server if you haven't already. I'm in there a lot, sharing all sorts of memes. If you're a supporter, I send some images, I send some things going on throughout my day, throughout my liturgical life that I might always not want to send with the main chats with everybody. So you get a bit of an exclusive look if you get on the World War Now Discord. Be sure to follow us on X. That's right, not just me, which you should definitely follow at GnomeRad on X, but you should also follow World War Now _ Dimitri as well at World War Now host. So be sure to follow all of us. Be sure to follow us on Telegram at World War Now Telly. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Obviously, most of you are watching on YouTube. If you haven't already subscribed, be sure to do that. Like the video, like the stream on Substack. If you're watching on Substack, be sure to like and restack the stream. If you're hearing this and you're not liking and restacking the stream, you are not doing everything you can to help the show grow. So what are you doing? Be sure to do all of those things. It really, really helps us out. Subscribe on Substack, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Telegram, subscribe on X. Be sure to get behind the paywall. And in the future, super chats right now are one of the best ways that you can support the show. I might be getting a buy me a coffee set up in the future. I'm just really hoping that Substack will get a tip jar combined with a super chat feature, so we can really continue to have Substack as the home base, because right now it's the best regarding censorship and regarding the capabilities that we need right now to get this critical information out. So thank you all so much for listening. Paisios, just send me that link on Twitter or on Substack or wherever you want to send it. I'll be sure to check it out. But thank you all again so much for listening. Again, follow us, worldwarnow.co. It's all linked down in the description below. But with all of that, I will see you on the next one. God bless.